let's travel back to 1918. It was the 5th year of World War I, and the world was already weary from the ravages of war, and it was about to experience the greatest influenza. It was about to experience the greatest influenza pandemic. The pandemic occurred in 3 separate waves over a period of less than 12 months. The first recorded occurrence was thought to have come out of Kansas in March of 1918, and by the winter of 1919, an estimated 500 had been infected, 50 million had died. Community centers and schools became makeshift hospitals. Quarantines were imposed. Laws were passed requiring people to wear masks. Spitting was even prohibited. Researchers developed a range of vaccines, but none worked. Medical treatments, including aspirin and quinine, proved ineffective. Ultimately, doctors could only have their patients make their patients feel comfortable and well hydrated. However, history suggests that another system of medicine fared much better. A study of 61,000 confirmed cases of influenza from 1918 shows that patients treated by homeopathy had death rates of about 0.7% compared to death rates of over 30% from conventional medicine. The Journal of the American Institute of Homeopathy collected over 50 physician accounts from 1918. One such account is from a Dr. Frank Leland of Chicago. He wrote, "In a plant of 8,000 workers, we only had 1 death. The patients were not drugged. Delsemium, a homeopathic remedy, was the only remedy used. We used no aspirin and no vaccines." T. McCann, an MD in Ohio, wrote, "I have treated 1,000 cases of influenza. I have the records to show my work, and I had no losses. Please give all credit to homeopathy." What was especially amazing about these homeopathic physicians was that they were able to recognize the fatal effects of aspirin at a time 45 years before that was scientifically proven. So the lack of diagnosis did not slow the homeopaths. They didn't need to put a name to the disease in order to be able to treat it. Accurate and detailed case taking resulted in the appropriate remedies being prescribed. And that suggests that homeopathy's success in 1918 wasn't a fluke. Medical records from epidemics throughout the 19th century, typhoid to cholera to scarlet fever, all show homeopathic success in facing epidemics. But let's return back to present day. So as of yesterday, the World Health Organization reported that there's 17,000 cases of swine flu, 115 deaths, 97 of those from Mexico. And the CDC has stated that a vaccine may be ready in October, assuming that the virus hasn't changed by that time. So how is the flu of 1918 similar to today's epidemic? Well, both are an H1N1 influenza type A virus. Both have killed young, healthy adults. The first wave in 1918 was relatively mild, so perhaps this pattern could be occurring today. There's a couple possible scenarios. One is that the flu will just die down, that the heat of the summer will cause it to become inactive, similar to what happens every year. A worst case scenario is that the swine flu part, the part of the swine flu stays in the human flu, allowing for more lethal virus to develop through genetic shifts or genetic drifts, basically just viral mutations. So we'll see what happens, but I suspect there will be some anxiety come September. Most researchers agree that it's not a matter of if there will be another pandemic, but when. Homeopathy has a controversial history. It has its supporters, it has its haters. But with something so important, isn't it worthwhile investigating all possible treatments? Dr. Paul Herskew is one person trying to do this. He's founded the Herskew Laboratory Influenza Center, and his goal is to develop a simple tool that would allow even non-homeopaths to be able to identify which patients would benefit from proper remedies. This questionnaire was actually used in a recent pilot study to help find a single remedy for those suffering from flu symptoms in the last 2008 period. And its research is now focused on the current outbreak. So without a genetic shift or drift causing this current virus to become more lethal, mortality rates will not likely be any different from other years. So the bottom line is, don't panic. at least not for this epidemic. A pandemic will occur at one point, and homeopathy's historical track record should not be ignored. Shouldn't a system of medicine that has the potential to save lives at least be considered and investigated? The next pandemic can be manageable if we take the appropriate steps. Thank you.